It has been documented on the channel that it was not the Jedi, but the Sith that originally pioneered the more modern lightsaber, and developed a lightsaber that was specifically meant for combat, as the other lightsabers and lightsabers before the more modern design were used for more ceremonial purposes. These first lightsabers were known as Proto Sabers. A Proto Saber was extremely difficult to wield as it had a huge battery pack that most wielders had to attach to their belts. In order for the blade to function properly, it had to draw all of its energy from this pack, and if the wire attaching the saber to the pack was ever severed, the saber would deactivate. Even with the pack though, the power was limited, as it could only put up so much power. Therefore, a lightsaber or Proto Saber could only be used for very short periods of time. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it was not the Jedi, but the Sith that actually pioneered the more modern design for a lightsaber. But who was the first Sith Lord to ever use this true lightsaber? Who was the first Dark Lord of the Sith that actually adopted a lightsaber as their primary weapon, and not a Sith Warblade or Proto Saber? Thanks to ancient Star Wars lore, we have the answers. The first Sith Lord to ever use a true lightsaber was named Carnus Mur, but he did not begin his path as a dark side warrior. Carnus Mur was once a respected Jedi Knight, but fell to the dark side of the Force during a period known as the 100-Year Darkness. The 100-Year Darkness was considered one of the first events where the Jedi Order actually encountered the dark side of the Force within itself, causing almost half of its members to turn to the dark side of the Force, Carnus Mur being one of them. Carnus Mur fell to the dark side of the Force during the period of the first true Sith Lord, that being Ajunta Pall. Carnus Mur was considered the right hand of Pall, and when these Dark Jedi were exiled, they eventually discovered the Sith. Again, with Carnus Mur being one of the first Jedi to encounter the Sith Species. After encountering these Sith Species in unknown space though, these Dark Jedi, including Ajunta Pall and Carnus Mur, adopted much of their philosophy. It is during this era in Star Wars history and the merging of the Dark Jedi and Sith Species that it is considered that the true Dark Lords of the Sith were born. This made Carnus Mur one of the first ever Sith Lords. As a Dark Jedi, Carnus Mur did in fact use a Proto Saber with a yellow blade. His yellow blade potentially hinting that there was always a piece of the dark side of the Force within him, and that he was not always a faithful Jedi, but somewhat of a rogue. In order to display his dominance over the Sith Species, Carnus Mur even drew his yellow lightsaber, showing the Sith Lords that the Dark Jedi were far more advanced than their ancient culture. It was after Carnus Mur and his fellow Dark Jedi conquered the Sith Species that they themselves deemed themselves Sith. It was following this that this new order of Sith Lords began construction on a new type of lightsaber, construction that would eventually result in the modern lightsabers that we know from Star Wars today. Instead of having the mounted battery pack, these Sith Lords developed a power cell that was actually placed within the lightsaber itself. They also selected much smaller crystals than the lightsabers of the past. With this new advancement in lightsaber technology, the lightsaber would only deactivate if the power cell itself was severed, or essentially the saber would only deactivate if the actual hilt itself was cut in half, not if the cord attaching to the battery pack was. These lightsabers could also be used for extended periods of time. After the design of the lightsaber was completed, it was eventually presented to the Sith Lord Carnus Mur, as he was one of the main leaders of the Sith Order at this point in time, and had personally requested the first of the lightsabers be gifted to him. Carnus Mur would eventually develop his own lightsaber using this more modern technology. Carnus Mur's lightsaber most notably used a curved hilt, indicating that he used Form 2 Makashi lightsaber combat. After creating his own lightsaber, Carnus Mur selected a red lightsaber crystal, and it is believed that Carnus Mur was in fact the first Sith Lord to ever wield a red lightsaber, and it was this decision that would ultimately lead to the tradition of the Sith always having red blades. Like the Sith Lords of past, Carnus Mur realized the great potential of a lightsaber, as he would use its superior power and influence to destroy many Sith Lords that came against him in combat. Carnus Mur was in fact the first ever Sith Lord to choose a lightsaber over a Sith Warblade. Even the Sith Master Ajunta Pall refused to use a lightsaber, instead preferring his double-bladed sword. But that was the story of Carnus Mur, and more importantly, his decision to use a lightsaber, and a red lightsaber, marking him as the first ever Sith Lord to do so. But what are your thoughts on this? And did you know that the Jedi turned Sith Lord Carnus Mur was the first to adopt a red lightsaber, and the first to ever establish this long-lasting Sith tradition? But leave your own thoughts on this in the comments down below, and tell me, what else do you guys know about Carnus Mur? As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching. May the Force be with you, and have have a great day. Before you go, be sure to check out my other channel, The Marvelous Wave, where we talk all about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including news, breakdowns, and theories about all upcoming and past Marvel movies. Link to the channel is in the description below.